come once again to discuss things.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen. I'm Super 2, joining me today is...
A Geek for Fun.
And I'm Matt Kid.
And Smugstick.
Smugstick from YouTube?
Smugstick from YouTube.
Wow! I think, legitimately, I think you might be the biggest YouTuber I've ever had on the show, so congratulations for that.
No, I should be, but you know.
He doesn't just mean your sub count.
Oh, of
Yeah.
course.
I was talking about your massive, huge, throbbing
Ego.
man tits, you fat bitch.
Oh.
Anyway. So Smug is here, and he has picked a review topic for us today. So, what... I would ask, what are we reviewing today, but, I don't fucking know, because we all, have a different source of the thing. The topic was just Berserk without any direct this thing of Berserk. So Matt watched one movie, I watched another one. That's
Wait,
a fan
what?
edit. Yeah.
I watched what was it? I watched the Golden Egg arc, the recent one that was in 2012 or something like that.
The Egg of the King.
Yeah, and then
First
he
one?
watched the one from 97. But it's the same fucking story, so I mean, I think we'll be okay.
I don't know what you watched, Ian. I've never heard of that.
He's talking about it was basically. He's a fan cut of the 97 anime, but
okay.
edited to be the episodes together as if they were the Golden Age movie.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
Yeah, no, it's just
weird.
really funny how that all worked out.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're reviewing basically the first arc of Berserk is how we're going about it, and I guess in a way we're doing different adaptations of it too. So yay!
Not technically the first arc. In the manga, it happens I don't know, 3 volumes in.
Ah, okay.
It's a flashback arc, but it is the first thing that happens in chronologically.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's weird because the fan cut I watched starts with using I think it might have started with a scene from your movie that you watched, Matt, with because it was clearly had some CGI in it, and then it cuts to him fighting this snake guy.
Yeah,
saying that he's the Black Swordsman.
Yeah, because the movie I watched pretty much just starts with the beginning of the Egg of the King arc, but I did definitely back when I was peak being into Dark Souls, I did go back and I read some of the Berserk manga, and I was very confused watching this movie because I was like, oh, where's Puck, and why does he have 2 normal ass hands? That's fucking boring. And then I realized, oh, this actually happens later. So I was a little confused because I had only read a little bit of the first couple arcs of the manga. But once I was on board, I knew what was going on. So yeah.
Yeah, once the story really got going and he fought the fat guy in the armor, once we got to that point in the version I watched, I was pretty into it. The rest of the stuff beforehand was very confusing.
Yeah, I think that's down to the nature of the thing they're trying to do with that is and I think this is a good way to talk about it in general, right? Is Berserk. First thing I want to lead is recently the author of Berserk has tragically passed away, Kentaro Miura. It was a heart problem, and the shame of that obviously is not only does that mean that the work will remain unfinished, at least by the hands of the original author, because it's still going, and it started in the 90s. But the idea is as well that Berserk has kind of been tragically suffered of like never having like a proper adaptation. So the fan base has kind of taken to itself to try and like hodgepodge as much of one as they can. So like what the manga does, the manga opens with like what Matt's talking about, where like we start off post all of this with Guts as like this lone wandering black swordsman, and he's got like a missing arm, and he's doing, and it's like a cold open, and then we flash back to the backstory here. I do think the way that the recent movies open, I think, is probably the stronger way if you in terms of an adaptation of just starting chronologically with the backstory, because I was confused about that as well when I first started reading Berserk. I was just like, who the hell is this? Where are we going? What are we doing? And I guess there's like an appeal to that there is appeal to being just dropped headfirst into a story. But I think for a manga that works, where like you're gonna check out like chapter to chapter. But I think for a movie, it is a smarter idea to just start off with that wartime battle scene against Bazuzo, and then you get straight into like Griffith and the Hawks and Casca pretty quickly.
Yeah, once it was all that stuff, like I did really enjoy it. Like I like Griffith a lot as kind of this almost like Antichrist-esque figure.
Well, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, like that's the thing it reminded me of is like the way that everyone is like acting like they're so drawn to him, and he seems like so nice and cool, but at the same time it's like, yeah, I'm leading a mercenary army and, you know, slowly gaining political power. And I also have this like weird eyeball thing around my chest. Like it just reminded me of watching the Omen movies. And so I was kind of like getting into like Griffith as like, okay, so what if you were like the buds with fucking Damien from The Omen is kind of, but it's set in the Middle Ages. Is kind of the vibe I got for this. So it's kind of, it was cool as hell watching it and just seeing him like rise to power, and you're you know, there's a very strong sense, especially with the version I watched, which kind of hints at him being a huge problem later on, because he is like got Guts captured or something in the opening of what I watched. But like there's a real sense that he is going to be a problem, but he's such a cool guy in the moment that it's just really hard to deal with. Like I wasn't sure what I would think of this guy when he first shows up, and he's just like, oh, I'm the cool anime guy, where I just like sit back like, okay, idiots, go get in the fight, I'll come in and save you, I'll beat the hero with one arm. And I'm like, okay, so we're getting like a rivalry thing going here, what's going on? And then like he and Guts immediately have a fight, and it is a fucking great fight. Just that idea of just being like so incredibly outmatched and knowing that he should give up left and right, but then just keeps on like coming up with bullshit ways to extend the fight, and each one could have been like the moment in any anime thing where like that's where he wins, but like it just keeps not working out. So just the, you know, you talk too much, there's only one thing you should use your mouth for in battle, and then he like bites the sword. That shit was great, man. I really really liked that.
I think calling him an antichrist figure is very, very accurate, especially how because he through well, at least I'm thinking of the manga specifically right now. He's presented very much like super angelically, almost like a false idol. In comparison to all the demons and beasts that we encounter later on, and I wish I knew exactly where your things stopped.
Alright, so Luis, Ian's thing stops when they're on the stairs after the assassination, and like, oh, by the way, from listening, spoilers. And like Griffith's like talking about like he could only consider a true friend someone who has their own dreams separate from his. That's where he is, because I just got it up on YouTube and looked where it ends, and it ends at the same place the Golden Age movie ends.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. It was a weird watch. It was a very weird watch. So yeah, new rule of Geeky Gentlemen. let's all make sure we're watching the same thing.
Technically, we got away with it this time, but yeah.
I mean, it's interesting to see like little fan cut of stuff, and like, I mean, I like the snake dude at the beginning. I don't know if I like, as much as I liked the Griffith fight and stuff, that would have felt maybe a little underwhelming if I didn't know how crazy shit was going to get eventually in this universe. So like seeing, you know, crazy Snake Man fight and then seeing this, I was like, you know, actually this is pretty cool. This is pretty like, you know, to see someone from later in the thing and then get like where they started and then go back again and get where they started even more was pretty interesting. Fan edits are weird like that, but for the most part, I think the fan edit I watched did a pretty good job of like getting me interested and keeping the pace. I think the very, very beginning with the using cuts from the CGI thing was probably too much of a bold choice, but the rest of it worked pretty well for me. I was quite enjoying it.
What I watched the first time I did was a cut of both the anime and the movies together.
Mm-hmm.
And it was pretty jarring to go back and forth between the two, especially because like the anime isn't necessarily anything special, but it is consistent and clean, while the CGI is kind of wonky, pretty wonky at times, honestly. But I don't know. I feel like the first part of the story, the flashback stuff, is pretty hopeful overall, especially when it comes to Guts and what we learn about him and his upbringing and the stuff he went through, and where he finds this family in the Band of the Hawk. And I think they set up the side characters pretty well, even the ones that we don't necessarily spend too much time with. I think they set them up in such a way that you really feel that something bad's eventually gonna happen. Like, things are too good for too long.
And I mean, it definitely goes that way with the way that it ends with, I need you to perform an assassination for me. Okay, yeah, well, I mean, the guy has it coming. And he's a dick to his son, too. So, yeah, it's okay to kill this guy. And then the son walks in the room, and shit gets wild.
Yeah.
I was not expecting that shit. That was pretty great. Guts is a terrible assassin.
I feel
he's objectively bad at it.
I was watching this with my wife, and she was just like, of all the people you could send to do an assassination, why the hell would you send this guy? It's like, well, that's why, because he wanted, you know. But it was, I mean, it's fascinating to me because you're absolutely right. There's this hopefulness to it. There's this sort of camaraderie, and then you get to at least in the film that I watched, when he kills the kid, and the amount of time we linger on that kid's death, and it's just brutal, and it really effectively does a good job of this constant balancing of this sort of kind of crazy fantastical anime with a dude with a giant sword and the brutal realities of the world that this story takes place in. And that's one of the things that I think is really fascinating to me about Berserk is the balancing act that it walks, and how it doesn't shy away from that brutality. And it was definitely unsettling to watch that play out, for sure.
And that's something that gets brought up a lot when talking about Berserk, is the kind of the brutality of it. Luis knows, but like this is just but a taste of how bad things go. But like I think it's interesting when talking about that in fiction, is it's very easy to do that for just shock value, just for the sake of to kind of titillate, or to like the gore porn, or just the pure idea of just doing it for the sake of for like Mortal Kombat-esque, like bloody gory violence. And sure, there's a little bit to that in Berserk, where when we do these epic fights, it's meant to be cool, and Guts just takes out these guys with one giant swing and rips them in two, just knocks their heads off or something like that. It's you're meant to think it's like fun and like a badass, like part of the appeal. But what I think Berserk does probably one of the best in terms of like how it handles violence and serious subject matter is it never glorifies it for a second. It lets you know fully on that doing these things has left this guy fucked. Like, this is not a life. This is not what he wants. This is what no one wants. This is just, they were born in this world, and this world is like one of the most unforgiving fictional universes and time periods you could ever be put in. And so as a result, you have to scrap and claw your way just to get anything here, and it's never long. It always gets taken away. The idea of like the struggler is what Guts is end up called, because he just never gives up, and like that always is like a very anime trope. I think Guts probably embodies it the most, because this dude literally should have given up a long time. Like, there is no hope for this motherfucker, but he just keeps going and trying to find it, even if he doesn't, because he's not the smartest guy in the world. He's not a philosopher like Griffith. He's kind of like, again, he's a blunt instrument. He's got a very simple view of what he wants in life, but he's also, once he gets something good, he holds on to it tight. And I think having that character go through these struggles and go through this lets you do this darker subject matter, lets you handle it with tact and with honesty. Because again, like, if you're going to do a work like this and you're going to treat it as like this grand thesis on like good and evil and like the idea of dreams and what men do to achieve them, then you kind of have to go into like the nightmare of that. You kind of have to go into, okay, what do people do to get power? What do people do to win war? And this is what happens. So I think it's Berserk definitely isn't for everyone because of that. But for the people who, I guess are here for it and can kind of stomach it. I don't want to say that in like a negative way. Like, again, you don't have to watch child murder, like, it's fine. But like the idea of like it being out there to be discussed and to be treated with such tact, I think is one of its greatest strengths. So no, I'm glad that moment hit for you there, because when I watched that for the first time, I was like, my mouth was just like open the entire time. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it was rough, the way they linger on it. And I remember reading, because it's been a while, but I have read the first I've read the first handful of arcs in the manga, and I have at least read the stuff that's about Guts's like childhood, and some of that shit gets very hinted at in the movie. I think they have the line, the like, he sold you to me for the night. I think that line is in the nightmare when he's sleeping. But when I read the fucking manga and to like see that shit happen, and that's the type of shit that you then have like the Netflix Castlevania anime drawing from. That idea of sometimes the most brutal thing that you can see, there is a reason to depict that. Sometimes there is a reason to have that be here and to be uncomfortable and to sit in this moment and understand what it truly means. And it's got to be done carefully. It's got to be done, like you said, with tact. And Berserk is probably one of the things I've seen handle it in the most interesting and best ways. So it's definitely brutal, but it's doing so with intention. It has purpose. But it's certainly not for everyone.
Yeah, I agree. I think the way it handles Guts' stuff in particular is done very well. I do have a lot of problems with other stuff down the line that depicts the various types of violence that I don't think it's done as tactfully. But I think, at least for these first few arcs, the past ones, it's done with a lot of respect, in particular to Guts, and in a lot of subject matters that aren't usually shown in manga. I know this one isn't shonen. It's definitely not for teenagers even. But I don't remember the exact term.
Seinen.
But seinen, that's right. And it's a little comforting to know that at least there is, one hero out there that's gone through that type of thing. If you want to call Guts a hero, I guess.
I don't. I refuse. You can't make me.
I mean, I don't put it past anyone, honestly. It is hard at times.
He reminds me a lot of, and the work speaks for itself. I don't mean to do entirely comparisons, but like I'm a huge fan of the original sword and sorcery adventures of like Conan the Barbarian, and there's a lot of similarities to me. Not necessarily in one-to-one like character similarities, but the idea of a sort of mercenary figure in a very unrelenting world who goes through these peaks and valleys of feeling good when he's with his band of mercenaries and the levels of just melancholy and sadness that he goes through. And there were a lot of similarities there that I kind of noticed that really made me enjoy this a lot more, being a fan of material that's kind of similar to that. And so, I mean, I like that Guts is not really a hero. He is just dealing with shit the best he can.
And it's I think that then also applies to Griffith as well, which is one of the... We do this a lot in fiction, right? But we always have the duos who are like the light and the dark, like the opposite, the Batman and the Jokers and stuff like that. But I think Berserk maybe handles it... I want to say like it's a contender for one of the best, if not the best, of how it juxtaposes Griffith and Guts. With the again, like the thing that's kind of talked about with Batman and Joker is like, oh yeah, Batman is like cloaked in the garb of the night and demons and horror, but yet he's here to save us. While the Joker is like meant to be this fun, jovial, comforting thing of the clown, and it's twisted and horrible. The Joker one doesn't quite land as much anymore because no one fucking likes clowns. But like the intent is behind that, right? I think having Griffith, who's again is like, which Ian you put really well, like this Antichrist figure who is this, like impossibly, he looks like a woman half the time in terms of like his lips look bigger and fuller than 99% of the female cast here. His hair is always fluffed and
he's got dick-sucking lips, Alfie. Don't put a man down just because he's good at sucking dicks.
Griffith's got them DSLs.
Yeah,
quite literally.
Glad to see myself represented in media.
Yeah, but this is how I felt when I met Smugster, because he stabbed me and then he said, "You are mine now," in the band of the What If. But like this idea of Griffith being such like this untouched figure, this person who's rose from the poor, but you could believe he's like destined to become a king and nobility and all of that kind of thing. But yeah, it's hiding like this greater ambition and this dream and this desire. To kind of achieve power at any means necessary. And then you have Guts, who's like legit, like the complete opposite. Like, has never even thought about anything except like there's this great line where like he they open the movie with like the arc again when like he kills the guy and like he gets the silver pieces. And like, oh, we can make you a lord or a nobleman. That's like the dream for us mercenaries, right? You can have more coin. And he's like, and title. And he's like, can I eat dreams? No, piss off. As I buy, like it just he's very much this is where I am, living in the now, paycheck to paycheck, food to food. I have no goals or any ambition. I just need to survive. And then through them meeting Griffith, you get to see the two kind of like, not even corrupt each other, but like they influence each other to the point where now Guts wants to fight for Griffith's dream. He's living vicariously through him because now he has this great person to follow, this thing to protect. And then Griffith with Guts, you get the idea that the reason he likes Guts so much is because he's the one fucking dude who doesn't give a shit about like his I guess passive aura, like his charisma debuff. like Griffith created a character maxed out charisma only, but like Guts has just got like a status like unaffected by this charm. So like, but Griffith was like down for that. Like Griffith's like, hey, I kind of like that we can just have a regular conversation and you'll fucking like bite my sword, quite literally. But like I think that's and like you get to see like this guy kind of be human and laughing with him outside of like the machinations for the power. And I think that's a really interesting dynamic, and I think that's a really great portrayal of a unique friendship that is definitely there's some homoerotic, it's like subtext at some
Alfie,
point.
just because two men, one of them's naked, and they start throwing buckets of water at each other, that's not gay, Alfie. Gosh, like,
I'm not saying
it's
that.
2021, Alfie. Like, get with the times.
You know what? You're right. I'm a bigot, and I'm sorry for it. I can't help it. I'm British and white. Leave me alone. But but like that the
Just because two dudes want to run around and hit each other with cold water in the nude doesn't mean it's gay, okay? Me and my homies throw cold water at each other all the time, you know? It's funny, because then we're like, oh, your dick shrunk, man. Oh, yeah, it did. You want to do something about that? Yeah, man, I got you. And then they're like, we'll jerk each other off and laugh about it. And then, I'm like,
oh lord, yeah.
it's not gay.
You know what? I'm not even gonna say anything. But you debunked my premise entirely.
You know, if gay means happy, then I'm straight.
That was actually the homoeroticism and the sexual subtext, which is not even really subtext, between Griffith and Guts was one of the things that I thought was really kind of drawing me into their relationship. It adds this, you know, because this is clearly that kind of classic doomed friendship, and adding that subtext over top of it, that extra wrinkle, certainly did a lot to make me really gravitate towards Griffith as a character. And you can tell even by the end of this movie, which the one that I watched ends, like you said, when he's on the stairs and Griffith's talking with the chick at the fountain. You can already kind of see the arc of where this is generally going to go, and it's really tragic and gut-wrenching, and I'm sure it gets even worse as it actually unfolds, but that subtext really adds a lot to that relationship.
Outside of the two bros just being bros, though, this part of the story doesn't really get to go into the rest of the cast as much as we will later. But the one who is highlighted is kind of the third main character of Berserk, and that's Casca. What did you guys make of her?
She's just jealous that the two bros are broing out. She's like, but I'll... She's like, but bros, don't one of you want my female parts? And they're like, bros before hoes. And then she's all like, I'm gonna destroy this relationship. That's anything that Griffith does wrong, I'm gonna find a way to blame on her.
Oh my god.
Please,
Oh, no.
Ian, please, for the love of God, retract that statement.
Oh god.
Bad.
How bad does it get?
No
man?
idea. It gets really, really bad.
Oh no.
Oh
You have no idea what you've done in that sentence.
no! That's like, dude, the equivalent of that is being like, man, this fucking Bardock guy needs to lay off Fraser.
I mean, he does. Frieza's a good dude. He's giving them armor and scouters and stuff. So he killed a couple of them. They had guns pointed at him, you know? It's fine.
That's so funny. That's one of my favorite Simpatsu quotes of all fucking time. That's so good.
I mean, that's the funny thing, right? Is like, so let me ask you this. So you said that like, this is actually a couple arcs in for the manga, but it's like the setup, the flashback arc. Right. Like, do you know how bad a guy Griffith is going to be before you actually meet the character?
You get you do meet him before, and you do see like what he becomes, but like the relationship between him and Guts prior to that. All right. So the example I want to give it is we get the A New Hope Darth Vader versus Obi-Wan fight, and then imagine that's all you knew about Darth Vader, and then you watch the prequels.
Okay.
That's the equivalent of it. Is we know, this is where this guy ends up, but we have no idea what their previous relationship was, why Guts is so angry, what all of this is about, how he got this way, and so on and so forth. So that's that's the biggest example I can give you. Again, it's like imagine you just watch A New Hope, Vader, and then you go back and then you watch the prequels. Is the equivalent, almost like verbatim.
Okay. I mean, I guess that's interesting then, because it does a whole lot of work to set him up as a pretty likable, pretty, sympathetic character. I mean, like, they go out of their way to show you how shit the royalty is. And, like I really like that scene with the king and his advisors, and they're like, you're gonna let the mercenaries army take care of this, but they are not true warriors, da, 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 da. Can you guarantee that your army will defeat the thing? Well, but the honor. It's just like they're so like up their own asses in the court about like the way things should be, that none of them are actually doing the thing that they're supposed to do. And Griffith and the mercenaries, like, they're the ones getting shit done. Like, it's just, it goes out of its way to make them really sympathetic characters. So yeah, like, legit, I can have this really like awful fucking take that I'm sure doesn't hold any water on like Griffith and
Ian, you know what's so funny about that, right? Because like a lot, like, it's become like a meme, and Luis knows this, and you guys have probably seen this, like, even just in that, being in anime circles. But one of the biggest memes in the Berserk fandom is how big a percentage of people are like, Griffith did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, no, for sure. I'm going to join that community because I loved him. I love him, and he did nothing wrong, and I'm sticking to it.
No.
There's a reason it's a meme.
No.
It's Goku
true.
is a bad dad of the Berserk fan.
So it's the truth. That's what it is.
I'm gonna berserk you with some Cold War in a minute, sir.
You angered
don't
the
tempt me
Berserk
with a
fan
good
in me
time.
and the Dragon Ball fan in me. Like,
Smug. No, all right, let me go for the trifecta. X-Men is also bad.
oh my Jesus Christ.
All right, now you gotta throw hands. Get the fuck out of here with your X-Men slander.
X-Men's trash, and you know it.
It's my trash.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
good.
like, legitimately though, it's interesting that it does such a good job of in this story setting him up as such a really comprehensive and really likable character. And yeah, like, there are certain vibes when the literal like demon monster who's like killing men for fun, it's the only entertainment he has out of boredom, sees your guy on the ground and notices the thing, and he's like, oh, well, I gotta leave this guy the fuck alone. Obviously, that's not a good sign, right? Like, I can tell things are going to go down.
He just saw his bro necklace, bro, and he says, "Oh, this is a bro. I can't have such a good bro." Well, that's clearly what I'm going for.
Or slaying a tomato. What?
Yeah, like, obviously, there's things that are going to happen, but it's just, I don't know. It's very easy to write bad guy is bad. It's really hard to write bad guy that you can sympathize with on some level. Yeah. And I think it's done exceptionally well here, because even though you can tell there's some like really sketchy shit going on with Griffith, you don't really know the rules of this universe yet. You don't really know what these things necessarily mean. Like, it's not impossible to imagine a version of this story wherein like let's say it was a trilogy, right? Where the second film, Griffith goes like really, really off the deep end, really evil and stuff. And then the third film, like the egg of the king is destroyed and suddenly he's not a bad guy anymore. Like, it wouldn't necessarily be a good story, but you could imagine that sequence of events happening because of how well characterized Griffith is as a character. I thought that was really, really cool.
Oh no, I think the strength of Berserk, just in general, is we never deal with good and bad. There's a conversation between Guts and Griffith in this film, which I think is the kind of point Miura was trying to make. And then Griffith's just like, oh yeah, well, that encounter with Zard at least is kind of comforting in a way, because, you know, that means there's like a higher power than this, like something like a god. And then Guts is like, don't you mean a devil? And then Griffith's like, is there a difference? And that's kind of the point of Berserk, is the fact that when you have that the most noble protagonist character in all of Berserk by the end of it is Guts. And we've established early on he kills a child. So like
it was the Middle Ages.
Yeah, exactly. But like the idea behind it is there's clearly when you get like stuff like just blatant demons and shit, like clearly there's not meant to be a nuance with the snake head man. Like clearly he's not got like a sympathetic tragic backstory. But like the majority of all the main principal characters in Berserk are never written, even when Griffith is at their most like diabolical. It's never written with like mustache twirling, like now I'm evil. It's always written as they are, always. It's just naturally we lead to these tragic circumstances. Characters evolve not as characters but like as human beings. One of the strengths that a lot of people say with Berserk, but even though it's been so long running and it's sadly never going to be finished now, is its story doesn't really need an ending, because you're kind of just watching Guts' life. It's not like, here's where this arc starts, here's where this arc starts, here's where Sal shows up. Like it's very much just like, this is just this guy's everyday, and these are the people that are close to him, and this is what this world does to them, and this is how they can find hope in it, and small moments of peace, and this is how they can laugh, and this is how they can cry, this is how they can hate each other, this is how they can love each other. Like it kind of covers the gambit of kind of the human experience of that way. So like, no, Ian, I think you're again, it's really interesting to talk about Berserk with someone who doesn't know where it's going, because again, it's one of those things that is very often spoiled, like super heavy, like the raw details of it at least. But you're still like the fact that it's becoming clear, and Matt, you've talked about this as well. But like I think that's a really strong sense of writing when like early on you can write the characters in a way where you believe that. And I'm very happy to say that, and Luis, I don't know if you agree with me on this, but like all the way up until the most recent chapter, like that has never changed. Like the characters always feel like human beings, like they always feel so fleshed out, and that you know these people, you can hear their voices in your head. They have that kind of like eternal quality to them, because they suffer so much and they bleed so much, but they never feel like good guy, bad guy. They just feel like we're in shit circumstances, and some people make kinder choices than others. And often the kinder choices are what gets you fucking killed. So the people who live longer tend to be the ones who make the compromises.
I really like the way you said that. I really like the way you said that. Oh, we're just watching Guts' life. That's why you always hear like the meme. Oh, they've been on a boat for like another like 3 years or something, right? Because the manga was doing that for a while. But like I never really minded it. I was like, hell yeah, we're on a boat right now. That's what Guts doing. Guts happens to be in a boat. So I always thought it was silly comments like that. I think the thing you said about the human experience, especially, there's something just so raw beyond just the violence and demons and like the art style and everything. There's something so raw that's like, I can relate to him even though he's fighting a giant demon. You know what I mean?
I mean, I do that every week. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
You relate to him.
Fight giant demons all the time.
Speaking of
retail.
that, by the way, is legit one of my favorite characters in Berserk. He's only here for a little bit, but like he low-key kind of steals the show. What do you guys think of General Zod? That little segment.
It was pretty good.
Yeah,
it was pretty good.
He's fun. It was really fun watching that, because when you watch the one that I watched that doesn't have any of that preamble, doesn't have any of that prelude. It pretty much starts get-go on kind of just a standard medieval fantasy battle, and there's nothing to really indicate that this is going to get all demonic up in here if you don't know the material. And so having Zod act as that first sort of taste of things to come, I think he works really, really well. I love the fight that he has with him. I love that whole anime trope of like, oh, you managed to hurt me. It's been a while. That kind of fucking shit. It's great. So
Dude,
Zod's a lot of
having
fun.
a spoon. That is like my favorite fucking trope in the world. The a wound. It's been 1,000 years since anyone's managed to cut my bottom toe. Very well, brave warrior. Like that's my shit.
Yeah.
Like I live for that bullshit, man. Anytime they do that, I'm just like, this is gonna be my guy.
I love him. He's
Oh,
great.
that's so impressive! Oh my gosh!
Yeah, it's like they get hype. I love when like the emo guys that get like hype. like they're just like he's just having a good time. Because I mean, yeah, he's immortal. He's fucking just this giant. Like even his human form looks fucking demonic. Like it's just this fucking huge eyeless wild green
it's
guy.
kind of impressive when the like evil monster has a more evil monster transformation.
Yeah. And then he turns into this fucking like Cerberus, bad dog horned like fucking winged beast. It's like, first of all, the design is fantastic. It's really. I watched this with my girlfriend, and she mentioned that like it's really hard to find like unique monster designs. And I think like that's a really good point. Is like by this point you've seen like basically every kind of monster there can be. I think Zod looks really interesting. You can tell what he's evoking, but he's very much his own thing. And the fact that again he's not mindless when he transforms, he's still the same dude who's just like looking to scrap. And then he kind of like it sets off in motion. Like he gives, despite murdering all these people and things, he kind of low-key gives Guts some advice he should have listened to harder. He's just like, hey, by the way, you might want to watch this fucking Griffith dude.
I mean, to be fair, because like I thought the same thing. But to be fair, it's a literal fucking demon.
Yeah, he's a bro. Like he's actually not. Like that's the funniest thing about it, though, right? Is Berserk always does that with like the thing that you think is just completely on surface level evil. And he's just like, yeah, bro, I just want to scrap. This dude's fucking nuts. I just want to throw hands. This guy, you gotta watch yourself. Anyway, peace. And it's pretty good. There's this one of my favorite things in Berserk, in one of the fights that we get to. I know, like just for Luis, I guess, but like that fucking like rematch between Guts and Zod. With the fucking like how it's one of the most gorgeously drawn fights I've ever seen in my life. It's fucking nuts because they get to see like Guts doesn't get like transformations or anything like that, but Ian, you know how we were talking about like you get to see where this guy starts and where he becomes. Like by that point, Guts is able to like fucking like have a sword fight with like the demon form, and it's fucking sick.
That's dope. That's fucking hype. Yeah, I really like that. I guess I don't know, this is just an anime thing that happens a lot. It always kind of like, I guess, irks me. And I get that, like, that kind of monster with anime techniques of how they do dialogue and stuff, a monster like that would be really hard to do lip sync for. But, like, I don't know, it just always drives me crazy when monsterish thing is talking but its mouth isn't moving. And like on one level it's like, okay, yeah, maybe that makes it a little creepier, but on another level it just, I don't know, it always just takes me out of it for a half second or so.
Yeah,
And
no,
I feel
Maybe it's
like
just me.
in the new movie, that's the same thing in the new movie as well, Ian, and like that's got less of an excuse because he's a fucking 3D model in that one.
Yeah, I mean to be fair though, 3D models is actually more of a pain in the ass than 2D animation because you gotta like basically re-sculpt the head to do proper facial expressions and lip flaps.
I'm a plebeian. I'm a fool. Boob with the fool.
you know, like, I don't know. I kind of fuck with that trope sometimes. Like Ozaru Vegeta, when he does that, I think it's super sick.
I don't know, like I guess I've just seen it so many times, and like again, the way that anime like functions is it's a much classier Hanna-Barbera kind of thing, right? Where they've just got like the layers of things that are composited onto each other. And so often the mouth flaps are just an extra layer pasted on. There's like, the wide open for the mouth. And so when you get to a creature of like that complexity, it's kind of hard to really do much with it unless you do like traditional drawing each frame animation for every lip movement. But so like I understand the utility behind it, but it does always kind of takes me out. At least sometimes. It's not bad. I understand why it's done. It just gets me sometimes.
One thing that I do want to talk about, was kind of in honor of like the fucking talent Miura had with this shit, is I think one of the reasons why Berserk has had to have so many different animations and so many different fucking styles of art and drawing and all of that is just how it's like. Matt, you got to read a little bit, so you can kind of like let me know if I'm like crazy with this, and Louis, you can do as well. But like the art, and I'll post some in just the fucking Discord. But like the art for Berserk is legitimately one of the greatest drawn comics I've ever seen in my life. Like anime, like manga, Western, anything. Like literally, it's like a Kirby level talent. Like Miura has influenced as many things in the East with like through Dark Souls and stuff, through how he does designs and characters and movement and the level of detail, and it's just like it's insane that I think the reason why like animating it is almost like an impossible task, because there's just no way you could capture it unless it was like 3D models, which they've tried to not the best results. Because there's just something about it. There's just something about that kind of scratchy, kind of like hyper detailed style that is almost impossible to experience outside of the form of a comic.
Honestly, I think if they were to do something like it again, I think they should do like a motion comic, or like what they're doing with Junkei Ito's Uzumaki, which is just black and white, limited animation, but it's like a super faithful adaptation. I think I would love to see something like that. It's strange because this is the most famous arc in all of Berserk. It's been adapted like 5 times at this point. Like most of the video games are about this arc, even though like overall it's just a small portion of the story.
I mean, I do think it's very engaging. I have to say, like, it is really making me want to see where things go, even though I know that's going to kind of be a bad time, since I am now no longer Sid Part 2. I am the resident Griffin stan. Like, I'm here for it. Whatever he does, it's okay. It's all someone else's fault. I'm sticking to my hottest takes.
Someone do a fan edit, please. Anyone listen to? We'll have to do some Discord of Griffith with like the egg around his neck, but instead of the egg, it's like Batmite. that's the new Sid stat is how that's going.
I mean, he's a cool fucking character.
He is.
I like my complex baddies sometimes. Okay, sue me. Griffith redemption arc when? Like that's the thing, is if the artist didn't die, it's just like the next chapter is the end of the story. He's finally defeated and everything, and then like everyone thinks, okay, wow, it's been going for like 20 years, wow, or 20, 30 years, that's so crazy, wow, it's really over. Next month, new chapter. The redemption arc begins. That was volume 1, bitches.
Oh boy. I'd be here for it. I really would. Again, it is
really sad. It is really sad. Do we know? Did he leave notes behind? Is anyone like? Is there any talk of it getting picked up or finished? Or?
No one's spoken about it. Luis, I don't know if maybe Matt, you guys know, but like there was an example I saw someone talk about, because when this happened, right, like, because I follow a lot of comics accounts, I follow a lot of manga accounts and stuff. This is literally the first time where I've seen like all sides, like people coming out the woodwork talking about, oh my god, Berserk inspired me so much, Berserk was so good, like, because it is one of those animes where it's kind of got universal appeal, despite being child murder, rape, like, and all this nonsense. But like the fact that it doesn't have a lot of anime tropes. There's no high school, like there's no like key power or anything like that. It's very much in the model of like a Lord of the Rings or a Game of Thrones type of like setting. Like you can get into it even if you don't like other anime and manga. And there's a lot of it for different people again. Because Berserk kind of touches on basically every demographic you could possibly imagine. So the fact that it was so far-reaching and so many people were talking about it was just impressive on its own, and kind of like a good thing to talk about for Geeky Gentlemen, because again we like to kind of cover the gambit and like encourage like different fandoms coming together and kind of talking and chilling about it. It's like seeing that like all the comic fandoms from the East and the West like coming together to talk about the passing of a legend. I thought was really nice. It was really sweet. But in terms of like continuing it, there have been people talking about like, all right, so previous authors when they have passed, they normally have like a Bible or something they talk about, or they have like confidants, and obviously their editors they have to talk to and keep in mind like other people will know the story. And there have been cases where like a mangaka has died, and you'll get a situation where like one of their assistants or something, right, will take up the pen, or a friend author will take up the pen. One of my favorite mangas, Hajime no Ippo, the author of that came out to talk about like how Miura was like a really close friend, and they're really tragically saddened by the loss and stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised, given how big it is, if that did happen. At the same time, Berserk's so one of a kind, and so like this is this one dude's vision. And like so specifically fucked up in a way that you kind of have to be so personal with it. I don't know if it needs to happen. Like again, Berserk isn't the type of series where like there are big dandling plot threads, yes, but so much of it is just like a chapter will just be like, all right, so Gus is just sitting on a beach, like contemplating his fucking existence. Or like again, like Louis said, just like on a boat. Just so much of it's like the soundtrack to the show and everything. There's no like, there are like the occasional like ba 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 like epic like anime music, but most of the time it's just like very haunting and very like sorrowful and very like mellow. Berserk isn't something that really demands an ending. Like the biggest thing that came from its inspiration is like Dark Souls, right? Like a lot of people don't go to Dark Souls for specific plot, they go to it for like the interpretations of the plot, or like just the vibe of it. So I think legitimately it's more likely Berserk will just never get touched, and maybe an adaptation like Louis you were talking about, like a motion comic or something down the line. When they get to that, just obviously by the point they're gonna have to make an ending of their own. I don't see the manga getting someone to do the next chapter. I think that it's so well regarded in the industry, it would kind of be like sacrilege to touch it.
Yeah, I agree. I really doubt we'll see anything. I don't even know if I want to see anything. Just because of it's just been this dude's whole life work, you know. Everybody always made fun of it. Everybody was like, "Oh, Berserk's never gonna get finished," just like Hunter x Hunter. But like, yeah, there's so much of himself in it, I feel. It would feel just dirty reading somebody else do it.
Yeah, no, I could understand that. I don't know, it's one of the things for me, because I can't think of anyone that I know in like the creative field that wouldn't want the story to be completed, you know? Like, I think there's a lot of people who wouldn't want someone else to do it, but I don't think there's many people who are like, oh no, if I die, don't touch it, don't finish it. Like, I don't know, it's a weird contradiction. I know like George R. R. Martin was like really pissed at people for a good long while, where he's like, you know, I'm gonna finish the book. Quit talking about me dying before I do it. It's really rude. and I mean, obviously, Game of Thrones ended, and no one liked that, so it's fine now. There's the pressure's kind of off now that there's all the confirmation in the world for all the theories. So, I guess you could end up with a situation like that if it doesn't work out. But I don't know. It's. I think it would be a shame for something that long running not to get a conclusion, particularly if it has been as, I guess, prolific as you guys are talking about, where like so many people were inspired by it. It seems like if there's anything that could be finished by others, it would be something like this.
And what I think is really interesting about like the timing of it, right? Probably why the sentiment is a little bit different, specifically to Berserk, right? Is like where Berserk has ended off. It's like we could tell it was getting near the end. Like it's like we were in, like, to give like another Dragon Ball example, we were like the 10-day wait before the Cell Games. Like we were in the calm before the storm. Like we were in a pretty happy space for the first time in a long fucking time. But with the idea that, okay, Guts is gonna have to leave and go fight Griffith for like the big final confrontation. But like how it's like this, I think a lot of the fan base is like, okay, so he doesn't have to go, he could just stay and be happy. Like, I think the reason why people are kind of not even wanting the story to be finished is because the story is in a good place where you could legitimately just say, all right, Guts here, and happily ever after, and he just never, Griffith was just ruled the world, but like it's fine, he did a good job, whatever. like it's just because people knew that when you go to like the final confrontation of Berserk, like very few, if anyone, will be left alive on the entire probably fucking planet, probably. Like, like who knows what fucking crazy shit would happen. So I think a lot of people just are kind of like, you know what? maybe for the sake of these characters getting some fucking peace, it can just rest here and end it. Because again, like it was like in a space where like we were in a kind of downtime, we were in like chill, very restful time. For like again, like for the first time in years, but it was like leading up to clearly like a big thing coming on. So I wouldn't be like insulted or ranting if it did get picked up by someone else and someone did it. Obviously, I think the only way they would do it was like they were a friend or they were a co-worker or something like that. And I think Miura himself has spoken about like he would want that to happen. He'd be fine with it. I don't think he himself. I don't obviously speak for the man, but like. I think he would be completely fine with like a younger author coming in and continuing their work. But I understand also for this very specific reason, the fandom context is kind of like, okay, you don't have to fight anymore, buddy. You can chill out. Like it's gonna be okay. Like yeah, I know Griffith, but like he's fine. Like just let him do his thing. Like just stop fighting, guys, please. It's that kind of thing, right? It's that kind of like you don't want your boys to fucking you don't want to be hurt anymore. And that's kind of the story of Berserk, is that finding a way through unimaginable trauma to still try and find some peace and some happiness.
No, that makes sense. Yeah.
There would certainly be, with anything like that, when you have someone's singular vision, if you did have someone pick it up, I mean, it would be very interesting to see, because I guarantee you there would be those people who would say, if the original author, if Kentaro wasn't involved in it, then I don't see it as canon. You would certainly see a lot of those discussions, and it's hard not to imagine that coming up. I mean, that comes up in fucking Star Wars. Of course, it would come up in something as well respected as this. It's interesting though, because Berserk's influence is fucking everywhere if you know what to look for. But it is interesting that as a more casual anime and manga fan, Berserk has never been one that I've heard listed with the big, giant, popular, shonens. And that could just be because the subject matter makes it inherently less accessible to younger audiences and yada, yada, yada. But it is interesting to me that such a well-known and influential manga, it seems you really only see its influence once you're a little bit more into that space of culture. Whereas something like Naruto and DBZ, it's much more easy to be casually aware of those things. But once you kind of get into that space, Berserk's influence is pretty substantial. It's crazy, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. The difference between sorry.
No, sorry, I sneezed. I was apologizing.
I was gonna say, I think it's the difference between something like Star Wars versus 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yeah, sure.
Not like age or anything. It's just like one is incredibly influential to the genre and filmmaking in general, while the other one is more popular and still just as influential. But that's the kind of comparison I would put it at.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
I mean, just to put it in perspective, right? And this is like just huge, but like, the joke that everyone does, like literally everyone does, like inherently of like, oh yeah, anime, haha, the guy with the big sword. This is where that comes from.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
sure.
No shit. This is where the trope of the sword bigger than the guy came from. It's not there's something else did it and this popularized it. This is the origin point. And that's insane.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Zabuza is just fucking ninja guts. Confirmed.
Like fucking Cloud, fucking... Zabuza really do be ninja guts.
Zabuza's ninja guts. Confirmed.
Damn. Anyway, don't distract me with Naruto. Damn you, man. But like the breadth of this fucking thing is just insane. For that alone, even if it was just that, but it's far from that. It's gone and reached so far. So I think it's something that even if it's not for you, even if it's not something you go for or anything, right? And even if you watch like a fan edit on YouTube or a Netflix movie or read the manga or watch the original series or however you consume Berserk, right? I think it is something that if you are a fan of comics, you should check it out. Like, I don't just mean like anime. I just mean like if you like works of fiction that are written and drawn and go from sequential art, like, and how they pace that, how you do action, how you build characters in that, I think you're like doing yourself a disservice if you at least don't check it out, because it's a really good kind of like masterclass of how to do it and just how to see how that kind of stories work. And even outside comics, just if you again like medieval fantasy, like again, there's a round range of terms, but the one I do want to lean on is like comic, because I think it again. I don't say it lightly. I would put Miura next to a Kirby, next to a Ditko, next to a Toriyama, like in terms of just like the big boys.
Mm-hmm. Also, if you like Dark Souls, because Dark Souls is apparently just 90% Berserk.
You could do a good playthrough of Dark Souls. You can get Griffith's armor in Dark Souls. You can get his. Well.
You can get Guts' exact sword, like just the standard rote great sword is Guts' fucking sword. And Hidetaka Miyazaki has said how big of an influence Berserk is on him. Fucking the Taurus demon in Dark Souls 1 is just Zod. Like, it's just that character. Andre the Blacksmith is just a blacksmith character from the manga. Fucking Gwendolyn, the Dark Sun, is just Griffith. So, like, it's really cool to see those parallels, and even in other things, the fucking red orbs from Dragon Ball, red orbs from Devil May Cry are just that fucking
they are,
egg thing. Yeah, they're just a fucking egg thing. That's exactly what they are. It's fucking crazy. And Devil May Cry itself, dude with a giant ass sword. I mean, that is some fucking Berserk shit. So it's crazy. But Dark Souls in specific, because Berserk feels like a Dark Souls. Like obviously Berserk is the one that influenced it, but if you play Dark Souls and then read Berserk, you're just like, oh, I'm reading a Dark Souls manga. That's cool. Like, that's what it feels like.
I remember when I went down a rabbit hole of sword YouTube videos about swords. Found one guy who's like, okay, this is a sword, and then he held up like a piece of cardboard on a stick that was like shaped like cloud sword or whatever. He goes, this is a boat paddle.
It's pretty funny because like when the thing we're in the story right we start with right is Guts has like a big sword in that like in the Golden Age one, but then you see like the proper sword, the Dragon Slayer that he gets is just fucking gigantic, and there's like a really cool YouTube channel called Man of Arms that like builds swords like from fiction and stuff, and they talked about it as like so like we physically can't do the Dragon Slayer. Like no one could lift it. It's just like literally physically if we made this as an actual sword, no human being could lift it. Which is what they say in the manga. It's like it's not a sword, it's a hump of iron. It's just like it's a fucking sheet of steel that he swings around. It's not even sharp, it's just fucking huge. But like
there's like a Japanese sword that's like ceremonial. I'm gonna see if I can find the image of it. Because, like, I guess the Japanese just fucking love their just massive swords. I'm sure there's a compensating joke in there somewhere that I'm above.
Oh man, seeing Guts hold the Dragon Slayer from his pelvis, finally a character I can relate to.
You know, Alfie, are you caught up with Tsukioni?
No.
Tsukioni's nuts?
I hate you. First you kill Ian, then you kill me? Matt, run! There's no time! Lick my balls.
There you go, there's a picture of the thing. It's like
Jesus.
It's like just a ceremonial thing that was like used for like emperors and stuff, and I'm just like,
Oh wow.
Does Sephiroth
Damn,
know that
things.
Museum took his sword?
I think the Japanese just like big old swords for reasons.
Who doesn't?
I mean, yeah.
I mean, people that have been stabbed. I'm gonna go with that whole group.
L could have avoided it if you had a big ass sword.
You know, you think that might
You
have
could have
the
been the
case.
one doing the stabbing.
Yeah, there you go.
Think!
God, I need to watch that.
Ugh.
Think, Griffith, think.
All right. I don't know. Where are we at? Where are we at on time? Because we're getting to the silly points. We're at our ending roughly. Is there anything else we really want to talk about before we wrap up?
I guess I'm just curious, do you two plan to continue in Berserk at any point, or are you satisfied with this?
I'm
gonna look at the YouTube channel that posted the fan edit I watched and see what else they have. But I don't know. I gotta find a consistent way to watch it. I didn't mind the movie cut. The movie cut wasn't bad. I gotta find a consistent way to watch it that doesn't like confuse the shit out of me. But yeah, I'd be interested in watching more.
Yeah, I will probably read the manga, just because I'm curious to do it. I really want to play the fucking Muso game, because there's a Berserk Warriors game that I really want to fucking play. That's
Berserk
basically this arc again, and then I think some other stuff.
It came out to tie in with the films. I am ideologically opposed to Muso games, but
It's okay. You can be wrong.
I should. Disgusting. I should check them out at some point. That one in particular. I'd say that the trilogy at the very least is worth checking out. If not the manga.
Sure.
I'm just
Wow,
curious.
the mark on his neck is basically the hunter's mark from Bloodborne. Or the hunter's mark from Bloodborne is basically the... Oh, wow, fun.
Yeah.
Interesting.
What do you, I guess I wanted to say as well, because I got that lot of things. Luis, do you have any, I guess, thoughts on Berserk, just as a whole, that you'd want to get out, because this was your topic?
Yeah, Berserk is a very, very influential series for me as well, as many people have said. It's something very special, something that I don't think will ever be replicated in the way it has. It's just I was very very impacted when I heard that Miura died, and I'm not caught up with the manga. I do gotta get to that, but from what I have read, it's just something that it's like catching lightning in a bottle. It's it I I really don't know how to describe the feeling I get when I read it. Because I don't usually read stuff that's dark or anything like that. I usually read things that are very hopeful and have a nice message. Because I think that's really what most art should focus on. But I think in a twisted way, there is so much genuine light in Berserk that you don't see in other things. Like sure, Goku can go through trials and tribulations and see the light at the end of the tunnel or whatever, but it's not the same as seeing Guts. I don't know. I can't say stuff without spoiling a bunch of things. And still be able to look at Casca and just smile, just like moments like that bring a lot of hope into something so bleak. And probably just rambling, but I got a little emotional like halfway there.
I feel you, man. No, I think I kind of agree completely with you. It's something special.
Alrighty. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and go on to ratings then. I'll give this story portion that I watched, I'll give it 4.5 out of 5. Bros just having a bucket of water fight, and maybe you don't want your clothes getting wet, so you gotta take your clothes off while you're fighting your bro with a bucket of water. Come on, bro. Don't be a dick, bro. Be my bro. Show me your dick.
Yeah, I'll give the one I watched 4 out of 5. Fucking cool ass Griffith sabers. Really great stuff. Some of the animation in the one that I watched, I was not super down on. The switching between CG and traditional 2D animation was kind of jarring at times, but definitely worth a watch, and I think a very good introduction to Guts and the world in which he lives.
For me, again, I'll just go for Berserk in general as just an overall work of fiction. And I think again is one of the greatest comics you can ever pick up. It's heartbreaking. It doesn't always reach the same highs as other things, but like it never loses its way. It always remains the same kind of bleak, oh god no, what's next, like as you turn the page, but at the same time, by putting these characters through such horrors and pain, you really get to kind of, without, when people talk about hope with Berserk, it's like, they fucking mean it because of the shit they've seen. Like there's nothing hollow when these characters do find some peace. You feel it's like earned in a way that's really hard to do sometimes with fiction. So I think that's kind of the strength of, I think by putting these characters through these things, it's not just for the sake of it. You're not torturing them for the sake of it. You're torturing them just to show that this is just what it means to be human, and even then you can still find peace and love and happiness and keep struggling on. So I would give Berserk overall 5 out of 5 swords that were too big to be called swords. Massive, thick, heavy, and far too rough. Instead, it was like a heap of raw iron.
Exactly. I agree completely. The manga I give 5 out of 5 for sure. This first movie, I'd probably give it a 3 out of 5. I have a lot of problems with it, especially the animation, and I don't know. I just have a lot of problems with it. But the arc itself in the manga is also 5 out of 5.
Okay, cool. Whose turn is it next time? Is it mine again? Question mark. No, because I did fan expectations and then Steve did Daredevil, and then you gave up yours for this to Smug. So Matt, we need a discussion topic, Matt.
We need a discussion topic?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Have you ever talked about, like, just because obviously with Kentaro Miura, have you ever talked about just, like, fandom and fan reactions to creators passing away and things like that?
I don't think so. That's worth discussing. Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay, cool.
All right, so there we go. We'll talk about passings of creators and the fans' reaction to that next time. Alrighty, everyone, thanks so much for watching. Until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
I'm a Griffin for fun.
I'm the Berserk erotica lover. Oh god.
Oh no.
Jesus Christ. This is... You can't say that kind of thing with this series.
I'm always the Sonic erotica lover, but I've been switching it up per review lately, but that's gotten me into some hot water.
Dang.
Now, next time we're going to talk about My Little Pony, just to make Matt say the thing.
Say the thing, Matt. I'm the My Little Pony erotica lover. Yeah!
Smug, say goodbye.
Oh, sorry. And I'm Smugstick.
And we are your geeky gentlemen, and we will be discussing things.
I don't know.
Ah.
Dude, there's a fuck.